Hey, Zach. Obviously you've been waiting a long time for a shot to be the GM. So I'm just curious what these first few days have been like watching, your team.
Well, Steve, it's been fun. I mean, this is why we do what we do is for the game. So waiting for the games to start is always, you get impatient. So the fact that we got going and it's good. It's exciting. It's fun to get going.
Obviously, the other day there was some controversy there at the end. I was just curious what your take was on how that game finished.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll take the win any way we can get it. I know Ron Kulpa, talked about his decision, and so it is what it is from our perspective. Regardless of what happened there, even if Michael's called out, we're still in a good spot with Pete coming up with the bases loaded, even with 2 outs.
Your next question comes from Disha Thosar.
Hey, Zach. I'm wondering what your assessment of the bullpen has been, and especially now without Betances, and you're still waiting on Lugo to come back. Are you looking to add other pieces for the short term?
Hey, Disha. Well, I think the bullpen, obviously, it's been mixed results so far. The other day was a really strong day for our bullpen. I feel really good about most of the arms that are in our pen. I feel like we have really good arms. It's just about, executing, getting the job done. And obviously the results haven't been what we've wanted throughout the first, handful of games. But into your other question, I mean, we're always trying to improve the team. I don't feel any sense of, panic or anything like that because the results haven't been what we want. It's obviously really early. But, I think there's several good arms here. And as you mentioned, Seth will be coming back at some point, hopefully next month.
Thanks.
Your next question comes from Justin Toscano.
Hey, Zach, good to see you. I know the vaccine was made available to you guys after Thursday's game. I was wondering if you had an idea of whether you expect to reach that 85% threshold.
Well, I'll say we're not there yet, but, we got a lot of participation. A lot of guys did go and get the vaccine, so we're in a good spot. We didn't expect it to get there on day one of trying to do this, so we're on our way towards that goal. I mean, that's not so much the focus. The focus is just, the health and safety of players and the people around them, not so much this magic number of 85%. But I think we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Right. And how would you evaluate the team's defense so far? I know it's early, but I know that's a part you guys expected to get better this year.
Yeah, I'd say so far. Obviously, there was one error that led to some runs in the first game of the season. But overall, I'd say the defense has been pretty good. I know, Pete's made some good plays over at first base. And just overall, I think it's been pretty solid. But, we got a 4-game sample here, so it's there's a lot of baseball to be played. But I've been satisfied overall with it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your next question comes from Mike Puma.
Hey, Zach. Wondering what you saw of Syndergaard in spring training, if that was encouraging, and you still target sometime in June as kind of that ideal return date for him.
Yeah, Mike, it was very positive watching him throw his bullpens in Port St. Lucie. And, I believe today he's scheduled to throw a live BP. So he's progressing well, and his stuff's looked good when I've seen it, for sure. So, yeah, there's nothing throwing him off that June timetable, for sure.
Do you think is it mid-June or later June, or can you say?
Well, it remains to be seen. It all depends on how he progresses. I think, June more generally. I think we've said middle of June was at the beginning of the season, but those things can change, and they could change moving it up, moving it back, depending on how the progression's gone. Everything's going well so far. He obviously is on the 60-day, which means at the earliest it's the beginning of June. But, yeah, it all depends on how the progress goes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Lennon, you're up.
Hi, Zach. I was wondering how you guys handled the new the new rules from MLB as far as substances on baseballs. I know it's come up this week just because of with Trevor Bauer in LA, and I don't know if you would, as GM, had to, address the pitchers on the team, or what do you guys do policy wise, just to make sure you're being careful and people aren't being astray of that.
Yeah, I mean, what we do as a front office is communicate to the coaching staff, and the coaching staff then communicates to the pitchers and the players overall on what's changing about the MLB's policy, and how that they're starting to kind of look into this more and take a closer look at it. So we just make it very clear what the policy is and make sure that they know what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do.
I mean, do you expect, as part of that just baseballs from your pitches will just be removed from games as well, just to examine them? Or is it your understanding that only for suspicious activity will they be under that type of scrutiny?
It's my understanding that, if the umpire feels like a ball is more tacky than usual, they'll kind of throw it aside and keep it for someone to study it. So I don't have any expectations. I don't know, what kind of stuff's put on the baseball necessarily. So, but that's my understanding is how they'll just kind of take it on a case by case basis. If they feel like the ball is a little tackier than normal, they'll just throw it aside and it'll be collected.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Britton, your mic is open.
Hey, Zach, you mentioned that 4 games is not really a sample size to do real evaluation. I'm wondering, is there a point in the season where you can start to feel like you can have a legitimate look at what your team's strengths and weaknesses are, if it's Memorial Day or the All-Star break or something like that?
Yeah, I don't have a set date in mind, Tim, but I think you come into a season with some expectations based on the track records of players. And so you always have that a little bit in the back of your mind. But I'm watching every game. A lot of us are watching every game and evaluating and noting things that are look kind of as expected or don't look as expected. And we can talk through those things if something doesn't match what the expectations are going in. But no, I think it would be dangerous to say, it's not going to pay attention for, 2 months and then reassess then. But I think we need to just make sure we're staying pretty level-headed and rational about how we evaluate, game by game. Because as you guys all know from covering the game, there's a lot of randomness and ups and downs that can just happen over the course of a game or 2 or 3 or 4.
Thanks.
Rich Catino, you're up next.
Hey, Zach, Michael Conforto had said during spring training that his preference would be to kind of work out an extension prior to the season. We're in the season now. Do you expect conversations to take place between you, and do you think his representation will be open to having those conversations during the season?
My sense is that, the only person that made a very clear, hard deadline was Francisco. I know he was very public about that, so you guys were aware of that at the time. Every player typically in my history prefers to finish it up before the season gets going so they can really focus on what's important to them, which is trying to win games. So, I don't have a sense that there's, that door's fully closed necessarily, but it's something that we, we'll continue to explore and see if there's something that makes sense for both sides.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from Mike Puma.
Hey, Zach, one more health update question. What would be the best case scenario for Carrasco at this point?
Best case scenario? He's progressing well. Again, it's hard to forecast these things. I'm not one to put timetables on it. You're just, you're crystal balling it. It would be a complete guess because the problem is, as I said, talking about Noah, is that there could be better progress than expected. There could be some sort of setback. So, all I can say is what's happened to date, and so far so good with Carlos. He's really progressing very well.
Zach, thank you very much for your time today.
All right. Thanks, everybody.